Hello everybody, this is Scott from TheElixir.com. Today I will be giving you, sort of an introduction to the Newspaper theme, version 6.2. Newspaper was recently updated to include a host of new features, a lot more configurations. It's actually faster than it was before, and it's even easier for you to use. I'm going to show you the admin panel very easily, and then I'm going to go through and show you each of the individual pages and show you some of the things that I guess in theory you could create with Newspaper. Let's start with the header. The header has 12 different styles that you can choose from that changes the different layouts, the color, a hybrid of it. It looks really nice, and they give you a basic layout for each top bar that would be above it. If you don't want even to show the top bar, you can quickly disable it or enable it. If you have a social sign-in, or if you have a sign-in for your website, maybe you do a social media website or BB Press or something that requires users to log in, you can have a sign in / join button when they log in on the top bar right here. You can also show the date, and you can change the date format of it by reading more of the function.date. I have it enabled as the default. The main menu is the main part of your website. The main thing that a lot of people do is they have this smart snap, which is where the menu will only be sticky in certain situations when you're scrolling up. While most cases you may want to keep it that way, I don't find it to be very friendly on mobile devices. Therefore, I just say I always leave it sticky. That way it'll always be sticky for users. That way they can easily navigate throughout the site and search no matter where they are, so that way they don't have to scroll up a little bit. The logo and sticky menu you can change to show the mobile logo, which is going to be a smaller logo, or the header logo. I think for most cases you can do the header logo. The logo in favicon allows you to add the main favicon to the website. It will not include the WordPress admin, but you can add it here with your own custom PHP. But you'll have to upload two versions of your logo, a Retina version and then the regular logo. They recommend giving you a size. Sadly enough, even though there's a recommended size for it, I did not see any declaration of the image size, which simply means that when you go onto the website and you run it through something like GT Matrix, it'll tell you that your image dimensions were not specified. That kind of sucks for performance reasons because it has to calculate a little bit of the size based on its container and the actual size of the image. So I think it's best if you go into the PHP, add it, and then maybe send them a message and say you should probably add these if this is the size you're recommending. The favicon is an optional, but you have to put a 16:16.png here. You could change the logo, alt, and attributes, but typically you just want to leave them as your site. The text for logo, the text is only used for style 9, 10, and 11. Typically you just want to use your name and then a little spiel about yourself there. The logo for mobile is going to display a different logo on mobile phones. Usually the logo is smaller so that it can fit in the Smart FFX menu. If you don't upload any logo menu, by default it will be used the logo that you set up here. You'll always want to have one in logo. Even though that there's a Retina here, you would think, oh, that means it's going to be Retina for mobile devices. That's not necessarily true. Retina screens displays are also on desktop, so having a Retina image for it can make it look much better. So you'll also want to declare your logo for mobile devices and the Retina logo. This is more of a performance reasoning rather than appearance wise, because even though if it's the desktop image, it will still fit the container. The only problem is you're loading an image that's twice as big as it needs to be, which as we all know is bad for page speed. The iOS bookmarklets are just simple bookmarklets that are added. If someone saves it, they'll have a bookmarklet on their home page or on their main tab page of their iOS device. It's just a bookmark. I recommend adding all of these and keeping it at the size that they recommend. The footer has 12 different styles. I normally recommend keeping it as the default because you can get a lot here, but that doesn't mean that it's not smart of you to do whatever you want. The default gives you this layout, which includes these string things. And while they're great for most websites, it doesn't really suit this one. Um, if you look at it, it just kind of randomly plopped these two things here, and while it looks good, the fundamental problem is I can't change what those are. So the only real option to change them is to come over to the style 5, and then in which case you'll be able to show whatever the 3 items you want here. I recommend keeping the basic layout of it, but changing the content that goes here. So instead of showing the editor's picks, the profiles, I recommend just showing the editor's picks, a popular post, some form of content down there that's going to be appealing to your users, and then keeping the popular categories, as this is something that you're going to want to show off. Your categories are almost like mini home pages, and it's good to show off the content that's in them. To enable your subfooter, make sure you have this selected, and make sure you enable a footer menu. You can show a menu at the footer area right here. Typically you do this for like information like more of your websites or contact us forms, privacy policy, the pages that you need for basic operation. The ads panel includes a lot more ads than it used to. You have the main header advertisement and a bunch more that have been added, but I want to quickly go over some of the unique things in NewsPaper. Your advertisement code, just because you put it as auto, doesn't mean that it's going to choose whatever it wants. They did a really unique system that is completely unique to this theme that makes it amazing. You can choose what devices they show up on, which means if you have an advertisement in the header and you don't want it to appear on a mobile phone, you can disable it right here. Or instead of the 320 by 50 that they normally recommend, you can change it to a 300 by 250 or a 320 by 100. This allows for you to get the most optimal sizes in your opinion. It also allows you to set regional sizes that are not always there for you. Sometimes regional sizes are only for specific countries or specific websites in specific countries. Therefore, it's not going to work if you're in the United States, but if you're in those countries and you're trying to use the auto unit, you're able to set sizes that are more fitting to your needs. And you can do this for every single device. Some of the unique things is definitely that you could put an article advertisement an advertisement at the top of the article, the bottom of the article, but most importantly, an inline. You can position it so that way the content is wrapped around it. This is great because it increases your click-through rate. You could place one as a 728 by 90 in the content, or you could align your content to go around it, almost as if it was an image in your content. I recommend doing a 728 by 90 for most websites, but if you have a heavy content website, then you'll find yourself loving doing a 300 by 250 or on the left or right side. It all depends on the way that you write and your users. From here, you'll want to just say how many paragraphs that it's after. If you write a very long post, you'll want to tell it when to inject the advertisement. Typically, putting it after the first one is going to look very poor, especially if you do a piece that's very short. Because keep in mind that this is going to be the same for all posts. Do it after a reasonable number. If you're the kind of person that writes one line and does enter and then creates a new paragraph every single time, one, your writing habits are terrible, and two, you're not really benefiting from doing that. And your advertisements are going to look very trashy. There's unique post template styles that they've added, and there's specific advertisements that you can place in all of them. But we'll go into that later. Or you can check out their official documentation and demo in the description below. The template settings. This is where interesting things come into play. The template settings are where you will get interesting things. Most notably, you have a smart sidebar. The smart sidebar is basically it's the sticky sidebar, but it's not quite simple. Not all sidebars are going to be sticky. Enable, disable. And not all content is supported by the sticky sidebar. Frankly, even though it's enabled, it doesn't work because I haven't set it up. Breadcrumbs are an important feature of the website. I recommend keeping all of these to the default settings. And there is a couple issues, most notably with BBPress. If you're on a if you have a BBPress section on your website, there is no home button, but I have reported to them to fix that. The lazy load is an amazing feature that should be used on every single website. Your images will come into view as the user scrolls down to the page. You can see the loading effect. You could do fade, which is definitely the best looking one in my opinion, upscale, and upfade. All these are unique to the theme and created by the theme authors. Smooth scroll is also having issues that I've reported, and it essentially is the same thing as having smooth scroll where it scrolls in a percentage. Like you scroll and it feels like it goes 10% of the way or 20%, something along those lines. It just feels like you don't put as much work into it and it looks much nicer. The WordPress templates. You can change how some pages appear, like the 404 page. This template is located here. Show the 6 latest posts from your Oops page. You can change the way that the images are going to appear. And you can see their sample here. And this is what mine would look like. It looks amazing because it, one, gives them a way to go back to your home page, and two, it recommends the latest posts. That's what you want to put in front of the user's face when they land on a 404. If the content that they're looking for does not exist, give them something else to look at and to read, as opposed to them just leaving the page automatically, which is what most people tend to do with their 404 page, which is why I kind of feel that they're underappreciated. The archive template is the date-based template. It's basically going to look the same way as, you know, every template. It's just the yearly archives. It's nothing to really be amazed by. I would have preferred if they integrated a slider or something that made it look much nicer, but it doesn't appear that they've done so. The attachment template. I don't use attachments, but the attachment page actually looks fairly decent with this theme. It's just there. It's just a nice looking page. It feels right. I would recommend, if you're going to actually use attachments and don't have them disabled, to go in and then click the full width. You don't want advertisements on this page, as they're ultimately useless. The author template. You can change the way that the author template looks. The author template is going to show the author, how many posts, the comments, and then posts in the layout that you choose. This is probably the best looking one, but for this one we can change it to like M11 and see how it appears. It's still going to look amazing, and it even looks more like an author page that you'd see on something like BuzzFeed. Looks great, shows their latest post, and it's definitely something that can be improved upon. You can include social media links, shows you all the comments that you put on the site, your latest post, your website URL, and then a sidebar. You can disable the sidebar if you wish, but on this one, I think that it looks better with a sidebar. You may want to look into adding a custom sidebar full of content specifically from that author, and because of the unique article system built into the theme, it would still show articles from that author that should not interfere with the main ones here. The blog and post template is again basically the same exact layout. The page template, disable the comments on pages, is enabled by default. Why on earth would you want someone to comment on a page? Typically they're not meant to be commented on, and if they need to be, then you can override them. The search template. Search template is what your search page is going to look for. If we do a search on this, here's what it appears as. It looks for, and if you're not happy, please do another search. These are all the posts that it came up with. I chose this selection, but you can choose the categorization that you like the most. The M7, M1, and maybe like the M2. Typically anything from M1 to M7 will look really nice on this thing. If you go to any of the larger images though, it's going to start looking rather odd as they look more fitted for a blog page template. The tag template. Tag templates are just the exact same thing. You can change all these as you really wish and customize them to what you want. WooCommerce template, you can select a full screen width, which is what I typically recommend for a WooCommerce page, but it actually looks really nice with the sidebar. You can also customize the appearance of the WooCommerce template like they did in their demo. The BBPress template is basically the same way. I like keeping BBPress related stuff in its own category, and you can create its own unique sidebar through this menu. However, it appears that there's an administration issue. There we go. As it was cutting beneath. You can create your own unique sidebar, so if you really wish, you can create BBPress, create the new sidebar, and have it generated. The categories layout. If you have a website that has a ton of categories, this is where things will definitely get confusing. However, if you get things looking well, then you're going to have a lot of fun. This is the part where the theme really shines. Typically, the categories page are most of the time they're forgotten. They're not abandoned, they're just pushed to the side. The category page is something that most people don't want to look at because they just don't see the purpose of it. But a lot of the times people actually visit these pages and they're looking for real content. For instance, let's take the Microsoft one. This is much better than a traditional gallery, in my opinion. You have a nice header area with the description, the title, and then latest, so you can retrieve posts that are specific to your needs. This is much better than just having a simple blog or search template where it just shows a bunch of posts in that category. You can also change it. You can change the style of it as well. You can say I only want the 3 images and to be grid style, blah 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 blah. Or you can have no grid at all and do the more standardized template. Lots of freedom comes with this. And let's say that you want your business one to be looking very strict and have its own style. You can easily do that in the theme and change a lot more of the settings. There's a lot that can be done with this, and it's completely expandable, allowing you to have lots of fun. The post settings. The post settings is where you can control everything regarding your post. This is probably one of the least interesting parts, and the only reason I said it's because they put a lot of work into it, but then eventually it just kind of went off the deep end. You can change which items are actually going to appear to the users, which is great, but some of the things that I do not like are these sharing buttons. I do not like the sharing buttons, as they are kind of bland. Let's take this one. Let's take this example post, shall we? When you go into it, you'll notice that I don't have any optimization really running on this site right now. But if you go into the post, you're going to notice right off the bat the sharing buttons. And there's only 4 of them. And then there's a tweet and like button. While in most cases this may seem like a good thing, it really doesn't harness the power of what we have. It just doesn't seem natural. And you can add your own if you overwrite the template, but there's no way to easily add your own sharing buttons. You can disable them or disable the article like slash tweet, but then it kind of feels naked as there's nothing really there. The related articles you can select it by category, by tag, and you can choose how many appear. If you want 4 rows of related posts, then you'll show 12 posts. If it's without a sidebar, then it'll show 20 posts. That's completely ridiculous. I recommend keeping in the area of 6 to 3. If you have any more, it's going to look cramped. 9 can be acceptable, but do not overdo it. It also allows you to show the more from the specific author, which will show you the latest post from the author of it. This is great for multi-author blogs, as it allows people to find content from the specific author that they like. Meaning, if you're writing and someone doesn't like you, they're going to try and find something else. They're going to find someone else or go somewhere else. The more article box, as we just went over, shows more articles, which is they pop up here. I don't recommend overdoing it. If you start showing ridiculous amounts of posts, it's going to look terrible. Just show posts that feel natural. Make it look natural. Don't do too many, or else if it takes up the entire side, then you're gonna have issues, as it's going to look very bad. If you're using a caching plugin, which 99% of the internet should be by now, you have to enable the Ajax count post, which typically I recommend doing that in the first place. I recommend just running it, even if you're not using a caching plugin, just run it from Ajax in the first place. But it's just, this is the best way to do it. Enable this, and then we'll carry on. Block settings. I'm not going to go into these in too in-depth, but let's go with this. The 7-day post sorting. When you enable this option, a new sorting option will work, and it will be selectable on each block. 7 days popular. This is great. What it will do is it will allow the users to select the most popular post from that particular category within the last 7 days. Now, this is great because it may be very useful for you, but I will say this right now. It can suck up resources. And if you're caching, it may not always be the most accurate. I have no real use for this, but some sites may actually need this. I don't recommend going overboard with this, as it sucks. Category tag. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, let's go over this very quickly. You're able to display the category tags on every one of these boxes. Certain ones are disabled for their own reasons, as in its own appearance. You can turn them off here as well. But the thumbs on modules and blocks. This is a lot of images. There's about like 18 here, and it depends on what they're being created for. It creates a lot of inodes, and typically you're going to want to compress them all. Always compress. Image optimizer all the way. But it will only compress them when they're really needed, and there's no real way to clear them out except for disabling it through there. And if you don't make them for that particular size, the sucky part is there's no real fallback. It just the placeholder image with the size and the instructions, blah 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 blah. That's the issue. If the thumbnail image is not enabled for a specific module that you use, the module will show a default placeholder. In my opinion, it should show the next up image. Like if this is disabled, display this, and just set the image size. But the only problem is it's disabled for these they only work on certain modules, and they're not all interchangeable. The system in place is really smart. However, it sucks because you're gonna have a ton of images. Now, for most people, who cares? Some people, if you have several thousand posts that you've stolen, and you're just trying to make a really crappy blog in the first place, well, screw you, because no one likes you anyways. But on the more important note, it can create a ton of files, and if you're not compressing, your disk space can be eaten up a lot. The background. Fairly simple. You upload an image, and your background is there. Typically, these are the most optimal settings. Excerpts. I'm not going to go into this, but just play around with it. Translations. Probably the most interesting thing about the theme is it's got its own built-in translation module, and the reason is because Po and Mo and Schmo and all those other annoying translation files suck. They are incredibly annoying to deal with on such a high level that they just make you want to scream. You can, if you have a language that is not English, boom, you have a ton of languages. Armenian, Arbaz, Latin, Tajik. What happens is it works by first user suggestions. If I translated this into freaking Klingon, which I actually did one day, but I couldn't share it because it wasn't on their list, and I was fairly annoyed about that, by the way. You can share the translation and the corrections because the original translations, let's say that there's one from a language that no one else has, but you're the first one to stumble upon. Let's say that you select the language of Cebuano, or however they want to call that. How about you're the only Bulgarian that uses this theme? Okay. The theme translations though are still going to be pulled in, but they're going to be pulled in from Google Translate. In most cases, they'll work perfectly because Google Translate is great for one word. If you start doing phrases and grammar though, as you'll see later down the line, it can become messy. So what you can do is you can share your correction or translation, and then it will be updated by them, and therefore everyone else who speaks Bulgarian, if they pick up the theme, will be able to insert your translations and say, wow, this is great, because it's automatically in their language. The only thing that I'm not quite sure on myself, what is translating the theme panel? That's an important one. Theme colors. The theme colors. Fun, 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 fun. There's not a whole lot of options. It's not something like you would see on a Redux theme. The Redux options framework, as it's known as, is incredibly freedom. It's just like you opened up a can of freedom and you can do whatever you want with whatever color. You can do whatever you want. Good news, gauge, explicit, all those themes. They use the Redux options framework and they can do a ton of things. This theme said, okay, that's ridiculous. There is so much going on with that, and that it's actually ridiculous because the user interface looks like crap after a while. The Redux options framework looks bad because it's so utterly cramped. And a lot of authors don't put a lot of time to making the administration menu look presentable. So, what they said is we're just going to break everything into categories. And we're going to let you change the main things. The general theme colors, the accents, background colors, you can change all the background colors. If you want a dark theme, that's completely possible. You can change the colors to whatever you want to where everybody will actually be able to see it and read it in a dark theme. While there's none that are technically really built in, you're able to build one through these color schemes and it makes a lot of fun. You can make things unique and it's just a lot of fun when you start playing around with it. Theme fonts. Okay, I'm not going to go through all these different modules, but theme fonts is freaking amazing. Let's say I go to the header. And then I choose what header, the top menu. I can choose from over 600. Well, I don't think it's 600. I could choose from several hundred, probably at the least, of the font families from Google. Then I can change the font size. The default size will be there, but if I want it to be freaking ridiculous by 90 pixels, by all means I can do that. You can change the line height, the style, the weight, and the transform. All of this for every single block, module, forum, everything can be changed from here. And it looks amazing. And it only takes up one font call because it's only calling one font. So instead of having 4 different fonts or 100 different fonts, that's only one HTTP request. Keep in mind though, if you start calling in a bunch of fonts, that's going to get really big and start complicating things. The custom CSS. Okay, let's just quickly go into this. Custom CSS, your default CSS will be here. I recommend using custom CSS as opposed to spinning up a child theme, because spinning up an entire child theme for one line of CSS is an utter waste of time. You say here, instead of, I don't want the little eye thing to show when it shows how many views there are, man. Yay, display none it. It's that simple. Advanced CSS. This is where you're able to set CSS for specific phone sizes, or iPads, or desktop. And there's definitely a lot of features a lot of things you can do. You can say if it's on desktop of this size, only display something that's this big, or only display the googly eye on phones. Don't know why you do that, but you can. Custom body classes. You can add one or more classes on theme body elements. If you need more than one class, add them with a white space. Don't play with this unless you know what you're doing. I'm just going to leave that there because I don't want to make this thing any longer than it needs to be. Custom JavaScript. This will place the JavaScript. Custom JavaScript. Very simple. Analytics. If you have Google Analytics, paste your code in. Social networks. This is where you place all your link to social networks. They misspelled WordPress. They were probably afraid of getting sued by the WordPress Foundation. Alright. That was a sucky joke, but I tried. Place all the links to your social media here that you have. Okay, I will say this right now. If you do that, your header, your top menu, or wherever you're displaying those social icons will be completely redonkulous. There will be such a large amount of social media icons that it'll start spewing off the side. Or it'll just start getting ridiculously big, and it's just like, that's a little too many if you ask me. But, what can you do? Activate the theme. This is where you go to officially activate the theme. You gotta put your purchase code in, yada yada yada. System status is the kind of the layout. It just shows you what everything is. The speed booster, disabled incompatible plugin. How dare you? I wrote that plugin. You jerks. Okay. Apparently something in there is overriding with that, so I'm willing to bet it's because I removed query strings and so do they. Max execution time, things like this. It'll tell you what you should have for the optimal settings. I personally don't give a crap what they say about W3 Total Cache because I don't like WordPress Super Cache. Support, you can go in here and get theme support. Install demos. Okay, if you want a demo, one of their demos, just copy it and paste it in. You can do that fairly easily. You can come over here and say you want the default demo. You can choose if you want the content or if you only want the settings. Then you click install and it'll download the settings automatically. There's only 6 now, but they're planning on adding more. So you'll have a lot of fun with that. There's a lot you can do, and I installed the tech demo and then I'm going to use it to branch off of, which is what everybody should be doing. You take one that looks nice and then you just branch off and customize from there. Plugins, this will show you how to install certain plugins that come with the theme. Revolution Slider, the Visual Composer, and the Tag Div Social Counter. This is not optional. This is not optional. This is required. Or you're going to have a very sucky time with this theme. I don't like the Slider Revolution, so I don't use it. And the Tag Div Social Counter I have no real use for. These are also plugins that they've configured to be integrated with the theme in some way, shape, or form. WordPress Super Cache, who cares? That's just the one they recommend. Contact Form 7 is used on the contact page, which is custom. I'll show you the one that I kind of had in the works. I used the theme, I wouldn't say a theme, I used a page layout that they had with the Visual Composer, and it looks really nice, and it requires the Contact Form 7 plugin, but once you have all that, you can create a really nice looking contact form. You create a little thing right here, you take the About Us, the contact details, and then you include a contact form. Looks really nice. Everything over here is not even its own, it's not a sidebar, it's just added from the Visual Composer, which makes it a lot easier to manage, because then I have to create 30 billion sidebars. BB Press has its own unique skin, so does Buddy Press. I'll show you the members page. Font Awesome for menus will allow you to place icons in the menus. Some are going to say, why didn't they just include that in the theme? Because it's not that big of a deal. All that does is it says you can place a font icon in your image. Okay. It seems that I've broken something with my auto-optimize, which means I'm going to have to go playing with that later. But it's got its own unique style if I didn't break it. What's probably happening is all the CSS that was inlined from them, which I don't know why they did. And the first place is been pulled in and causing problems, which sucks. Um, Jetpack. It may slow down your site if you're an idiot. WooCommerce. Unique skins, sort of. You can technically create your own unique shop page with Visual Composer. A lot of people don't do this, and I didn't do it yet. And I would definitely do that, and I would start adding a bunch of affiliate products. But it's hard to do that. Getting a nice looking shop page takes a lot of time. But there's a lot of different blocks that are built that allow you to do that. And I figure right now I can show you how to use the Visual Composer. Visual Composer is amazing because it allows you to build a simple page by essentially drag and drop. It's so simple, even a monkey could do it. Sort of. Let's come over here. And the unique thing about this is their own editor has the sidebar thing right there. And it's really awesome. But more importantly, the backend editor is where we can start using the Visual Composer. They include a couple pages, the About Me, the Contact page. I made a slight modification to their contact page because it wasn't perfect, or at least good enough. But there are some annoying things. Well, I'm going to show you. If you want to create an element, you add a box, and then you're going to say, well, what do you want to show? WooCommerce has a ton of stuff. Lots of stuff. Let's just start by showing the featured products. The featured products are products that you have been, well, are shown to be featured. And I'm just going to order it this way because I'm willing to bet I don't have any featured products. But if you just pop in and start doing that, in theory, you should be able to create a unique layout. Unless you're me and clearly like to screw things up. Let's just see what I did wrong. Yeah, but the content, okay. Default template for Visual Composer or content pages. If Visual Composer is used, the page will be without a title. Check. If it's a content page, the template will generate a title. Well, that's great. Always turn on the unique articles. Always. Especially on your homepage. Don't really have any use for it on a shop. No. Let's see if we can get something to show up at least. I'm just gonna add a big grid of random junk for fun. I'm just trying to get something to show up on the page because it doesn't look like it's going to be overridden very easily. See, it's not being overridden. But you can create a custom page, and I'll show you real quick what they did. If you come here, you look at the newspaper, you go to their demo, looks fabulous. You can go to tech, then you can go to more, and then WooCommerce, and bam! Amazing looking shop. Not sure how they did it, because when I do it, things don't like me. But it looks freaking amazing. Nice header. Featured products. Featured products are products that that you can set in the actual product menu. It's just essentially, hey, this is an awesome product that people should check out. The best selling products. If you're doing affiliate items, this will do you absolutely no good. But you could probably do it by how many clicks. I'm not quite sure how it calculates the best selling. I don't know if it's actual sales transactions or if it's from the views. But you could nearly get it to look. You could get it looking very sexy. The latest products with simple pagination. But since we're here, I suppose I'm going to show you one more thing. Then I'm going to show you the Buddy Press. This is what their Buddy Press looks like. Very slick, shows everything. Gets all the important stuff across and looks wonderful. I'm going to show you some of the different layouts. The video one. Sports. Classic blog. And fashion. You can truly create whatever you want just with the Visual Composer. So thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for the next video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them below. Make sure to check the theme out and let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.